That's what
Nothing.
it should
We are
start.
recording. I got nothing. Hey guys, how you guys doing?
Super awesome. That
Nice.
theme song, that intro theme song. Oof,
Oh
man,
yeah,
that's
wonderful,
a banger
wonderful.
right
Yeah. Hey Timmy, hey Ani, hey Keenan, everything going okay?
Yeah. Hello.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Surviving.
Lots of energy. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so Keenan and Ani, Tim and I touch base every week, and then every week we kind of talk about whatever is on our minds. I think last week we talked about a little bit of the Super Bowl, and what else did we talk about? We talked about our home gyms, because Tim, as you guys can see, as you guys mentioned earlier, he's got this whole little setup going on, and I just got mine too. So it was like a good way to just kind of like gush.
Oh, that's
and,
right. You
like,
set it up in your garage. That's right.
Yeah. Used it today. Although I think there's a slight tilt in the garage. So every time I do squats, I feel like my one glute is just it's
like
just
on the ground is tilted. Like
yeah,
like
exactly. And it's like
rotate it 90 degrees.
but the bar is too long. Like it's just too. It's like it's because my garage isn't that big and it's set up so it's like this.
Car, right? Yeah.
Oh no.
So I don't know if it's in my head or if
Here,
it's actually
grab it off, waddle out to the driveway, rotate, do your do and then waddle back and set it back.
I think that's what I should do.
Sound advice.
Yes. But yeah. So I guess Tim and I, we usually just, but I guess today we wanted to chat about like just our experience. We all met at Waterloo. We all met at the University of Waterloo. And I think last time Tim and I were talking, we are just like, hey, why don't we bring in two of our best mates and just talk about like our experiences at the University of Waterloo. So I guess to kick things off, Mr. Tim,
yes.
If someone were to ask you, if you were to quickly summarize, what was your experience like? Just at a very, very high level. What how would you like explain?
Yeah. So Waterloo engineering felt like never-ending cycle of lack of sleep and infinite amount of work. But after getting through it, I miss it. And I think I miss most about the connections we've made, because the camaraderie we had, because we were all going through it together and eating, like nasty pizza.
Goody Tuesdays.
Like 2 a.m.
Oh my God. Yeah. All those like shitty food that we've been eating, and all the farts we've been smelling. So that's my summary.
I was going to leave that off the podcast, but it's good now. It's our game now.
Of course, Tim had to go there.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Sorry, it's funny you mentioned the shitty food, because I still have a click in my jaw because of campus pizza. I had like one of those academic student rep meetings or whatever with Shelly, and it was always during lunch. So she bought a campus pizza. And like it's rock hard to begin with, right? Like it's fresh out of the oven. It's still pretty hard.
40 seconds to eat it.
Exactly. But we left it out for an hour. And I was just like chewing. And then like I got lockjaw because it was just so hard. And then for the next week, I couldn't open my jaw. And ever since then, I have a click. Every time I go to the dentist, they're just like, oh, what is this? Like, you should get this looked at. So anyways, if I have
I'm at the dentist, look at it.
I was just saying,
exactly.
If not them, then who?
Yeah, they're just like, they don't believe me when I say that I got it from food, and they're like, I don't think what you were eating should be called food if it's what it did to your jaw. So yeah. How about you, Ani? How about you? Like you did quite well at school. You guys all did quite well at school. If you were to kind of summarize your 5 years, I guess.
5 years.
Yeah. 5 years.
I definitely call it, like, I think everything Tim said resonated with me. It was like, it felt like a hamster wheel. Like we were just constantly just like same shit, different pile, kind of like every course just had an assignment due the next day. Like, but looking back on it, I have really, really fond memories, right? I would never want to do another assignment or another exam or cram, but just like, it is about the camaraderie and like waking up every day. Like the guys I lived with were the guys I went to every class with, were the guys that I had every meal with. It's unheard of, and I don't think other people have similar experiences through the university. I would go back in a heartbeat and kind of try and recreate some of those good old days.
No, for sure. How about you, Keenan? Keenan, I think of the four of us, I guess myself included, Keenan, you grew up in like Northern Ontario. You grew up in North Bay. So, I mean, first of all, I'd ask you, again, if you were to summarize your Waterloo experience, but also like, was it like a bit of a cultural shock to you to come to a school with visible minorities everywhere? Like, did that?
Think so, yeah. I mean, it was definitely like, I mean, I didn't really register it at first, but I think living with these guys every day, going from Tim, if I see you pull kimchi out one more time, I swear to God,
Oh my
I'm
God,
gonna throw
yeah.
it all away, to I love kimchi now and I'll eat it all the time. Like it's delicious. Like that's just like I think that's just like a perfect like tiny little example of how living in Waterloo and just not even just that crew, but like being in the town has a different perspective for sure. I really enjoyed that part about it. Um, yeah, no, I think it really opened my eyes a lot to being able to kind of spend more time. Like it's weird, but like food is definitely the biggest thing that I think speaks a lot about cultures. So like learning about the different types of food and then kind of like I don't know, every weekend, like, oh, what'd you bring back from Sagani? Can I have some? Then getting to
So
learn more
true.
about like him and his family and the different religions and the different aspects, and then like Shido, learning more about the Middle East and things like that. Like it was like wouldn't trade it for the world. But to your point of like, I don't think you can recreate it. At the very least, you can't get the good of the camaraderie and like how we drudged through it together without the bad of like, oh, really another midterm. I thought we just finished midterms. Or seriously, exams are tomorrow. Oh my god, it's like it's a non-stop go go go. But it was nice, kind of building that with other
Yeah,
people.
definitely forged in the fog of war kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think the one thing you kind of mentioned, like I guess you guys have all mentioned, like is like Waterloo's a grind. Like it's like it's the engineering at Waterloo, like it's known for the engineering program, and it's like it just fucking pummels you down and just kind of just crushes your soul. But the one good thing about going through that is, and I think it's very unique, and I'm very, very fortunate that I got to experience this, and I'm sure you guys too, is the Waterloo engineering program is like it's kind of based on like a cohort class thing where like we all shared the same classes. So we all kind of from day one, you look to your left, you look to your right, you're going to be with those students, with those classmates for the majority of your undergrad career.
You literally
And
identify people like, oh, those are the 2As, like
Yeah.
based
Oh
on
right.
their
Yeah.
schedule and like the year they joined.
yeah. And I think like I'm so like I like I mean echo everything you guys said, right? Like I loved my time at Waterloo. I wouldn't like I during it I felt like I was missing out on a lot of things, which I can get to in a little bit. But the one thing I'm very, very fortunate is stumbling into a program that like has a good reputation, all that kind of stuff, but also stumbling into a program that had this cohort class structure, because like grinding through the classes is one thing, but doing it with like buddies, like suffering together, I think like suffering brings people together. You talk to people like my dad who went suffered through the military. Like there's something about struggling and suffering together with your buddies that like really unites everyone together. And I just like thank my lucky stars that like I kind of went through that. And part of the reason why I say that is like like at work we hire like co-ops all the time. And I remember this one girl, I forget her name, but she was a math undergrad and she grew up like middle and like she was from Alberta, and she did math, and she like when she came to Waterloo, like she really struggled, she said, just finding a community, because she was thrown into, I forget what residence it was, but like with three people from different parts of the world, which is has its own barriers and issues to deal with. But she said that like it was just so hard to make friends and like find a community, because you go to your math classes, there's like 100 other students you never ever see. And she says she really, really struggled and thought about just going home and dropping out, just because like that social interaction just didn't exist. And like
Right.
we didn't have to go through that, right? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we had each other to kind of lean on. So
Well, it makes me think of like generally when you talk to people and you talk to like, I don't know if you have a cousin or a relative or friend of a friend or whoever that's like they're about to go to university, and if the question ever comes up like should I go in res, like 100% yes. Like don't even you have to. I don't care if you live in town 2 blocks away. Go live in res, because you'll build friendships that'll last forever. And we were fortunate enough that like okay, we had that in first year, but then we had like because of the how like you said how it's structured for us, we were very fortunate to have that. It's built in every 4 months. Like okay, Like I'll never forget being in Sudbury and being like, all right, Tim, I trust you. Find a good place for us. We're coming back next term. And I come back to this box underground. Like, oh my God.
Oh
Tim,
yeah. Oh my god.
That
I
place
will
on
never
Lester,
forgive you for that, Tim.
Wait, what is
place
it?
on
Is this a
Lester
basement?
with
The
Yeah,
basement
this is
apartment.
the basement.
not only is it 5, 6 people in one basement with 4 rooms or something like that, but there's also plus one, some random other guy that's just there.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
on top of all of us. And I'm just like, dude. He's like, yo, $300 and we can walk to class in 5 minutes. I'm like, all right, I'll give it to you for that. But
Is this
The
a
thing
place
that-
where Tim, at your birthday, you punched the ceiling?
Yes.
yeah, it's that very the very
And
same
where
one.
Pierre broke the chair.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Oh, I'll never
And he
forget the look
lost
on
his
face.
glasses trying to walk up the ramp.
Oh god.
That we
No, it was
always walked.
leaving. He was leaving
Oh,
that
he was
night.
leaving. Oh,
Yeah,
I
and
see,
we'd
I see.
all already split off.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
that was a treacherous, like in the winter. Like there's like a
Oh
steep
my god. Yeah.
20 feet.
I was
Nice.
literally just talking to Laura about that very house and that hill yesterday night.
That's awesome.
Oh
This is-
man. No,
Good
the worst
times.
part was the hole in the bathroom. Like it didn't have exhaust. And so like to get the ventilation, they cut like a diameter of like probably this much into the wall to let like the steam and shit like that like, escape, which in the summer I'm sure is great. But we were there for winter term. All
Winter
right?
term. Yeah.
And imagine getting out of the shower and your bathroom is ambient temperature of outside.
Yeah, it was rough.
Oh,
It
that
was rough.
toilet
I
seat
remember
must have been super cold.
Yeah. It was a hover situation in that bathroom for sure.
I see. Timmy, when you joined Waterloo, you like in addition to like all the school stuff, you had the whole varsity football thing going on, right?
No, not in first year. I tried it out. Oh, I did try out first year. I didn't
Mhm.
make it. Third year, I made it. So that was fun.
Oh, I
So
forgot about
is
That's
that
right.
so? Sorry, is that? Hold on. Did you try again in second year? Like so? Like
No, I didn't. School was too much, man. After first year, I was like, fuck
1B murdered
this.
us.
1B
Yo,
was
oh
rough.
my god. Yeah, like 1A, 1B, because we didn't get like we didn't get to do co-op after 1A. We didn't get a break. And then 1B was 6 courses, no?
Yes.
Right?
And so
Yeah.
you probably were like a little shy from like being like, okay, second year, I can't, I don't have enough time, right?
No way.
Yeah.
No way. So, and then 1B, I think almost like all of us had to kind of choose a course that we're going to abandon so then we can pass the other 5 and then pass one like first year.
Yeah,
Like,
break
I
it
just
up
didn't
somewhere
have
along
the-
the way.
Yeah, I didn't have the mental capacity to be able to pass all 6 courses. So I abandoned programming and I failed.
We use material science.
Same Keenan.
And the other thing is it's crazy to hear that coming from you, Timmy, especially because Waterloo, and I don't know if I'm sure other schools do this, but actually I don't know if they do this, but because all the students take the same classes at the same time,
Yeah.
at the end of every semester, Waterloo will rank you relative to your classmates, which I thought was really fascinating. It's a really like it's a very like a draconian way of like, trying to like instill like light a fire under your ass. And Tim, if I'm not mistaken, especially I don't know about the early years, but later on, you were ranking pretty high, were you not? Same with you, Ani. Were you guys not like
I think
typically top of the
we
class?
did well 4A or something.
Yeah, something.
One of the
Okay.
terms Tim and I did pretty well.
I was surprised. I was top 10 in 1A, and I was like,
Woo!
and
He
then
did.
I just
Yeah.
had this false sense of like security of just like, oh, I got this.
And I know his linear algebra mark, man. So that guy
Oh.
must have been killing it at every other course.
Oh yeah, like I did. Like, well, I mean, to be fair, 1A, I think everyone like I didn't have a great average, but I think everyone had a really over like what's the fail out rate? Like half or something crazy? Like 1A
over
was-
1A, 1B. Yeah,
Yeah,
we went
it's-
from like 81 people to 42.
Yeah, by the end
Oh.
of by the time we got into second year, right? So anyway, like that's like it definitely is a lower threshold to get up to be ranked that high. But even so, like I never did that well again, all things considered. But
Mm.
like my grades got better as I went through. So
Mm.
it's just kind of give you like a
Yeah.
sense of like the spectrum that you're working on.
Right. And actually, let me ask you this. So, like, while we're on the subject of academics, coming out of, do you think your individual high schools, because okay, from North, like Keenan, you're North Bay, Ani, you're Mississauga, Tim, you're in Oakville, and I was in Meaford. Did your high school experience like academic experience, like do you think it prepared you for the juggernaut that is Waterloo?
I think my Korean background helped quite a bit. So like all the math I've done until I was like 16 in Korea covered almost up to 1B. Yeah. I just didn't know how to like read it in English.
That's insane.
I was like, I kind of knew how to do like, integration and stuff like that back in Korea. So
I remember in high school, grade 12, because we were doing just like differentials, and then you see a random like the prof put up a picture, and there's like a picture of an integration, an integral on the screen. You're like, what is that? He's like, we're not gonna get it. That's way too complicated. I'm like, okay, I don't have to worry about that. And then 1A rolls around. I'm like, oh, whoa, this is tough. Because I was similar in the sense of like, I mean, it wasn't obviously as big of a jump from Korean to English, but going from French to English took a bit of adjusting. So.
Oh, I didn't even think about the fact that you were French medium all the way up and through high school.
You were in French immersion through high school?
Yeah, everything was French except for English up until
high
school. Yeah.
Zut alors. I totally forgot about that.
For a very long time. It was kind of embarrassing. I didn't learn that till like halfway through 1A. I'm like, oh, it's not plomb, like because it's plomb in French, and the Latin symbol is PB, like for the material lead. Yeah, I never made that connection until 1A. It's just like just little things like that. Honestly, it didn't have a huge impact. Like I obviously speak predominantly English. I don't speak very much French anymore,
right.
But all my learning was in French. So.
Right. And Ani, I think you like being from Mississauga, I think you were exposed to like what like an IB program was, and like you probably had access to things that like I had never heard of. So do you think you were kind of well prepared coming out of like a big Mississauga
I think
school?
So, because I was in one of those programs through high school. So everyone around me was like this overachiever, kind of like, driving for the best mark. Like everyone was heading to professional degrees. So we already had that mentality of work hard to like, it's important to work hard, get the payoff, all that sort of stuff. I wouldn't say like we weren't prepped for the material necessarily. Like I know for linear algebra, like I knew all about matrices and doing like the cross multiplication, all that sort of stuff. But then when we hit the midpoint of 1A, like I killed that midterm, and then and I stopped going to classes after that. And then I came back for the final, and I was like, I don't know what any of these things are. But for sure, I think like the mentality of how to study and how to prepare and how to present things was definitely something that was instilled through high school, and so it was a little easier in university.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that like I'll say that I like struggled is like it's one thing to not know the material because like whatever, right? Like you might have learned it, you might have not, but the one thing that I just never developed was learning how to study and like I wasn't getting the highest grades in high school, but I was doing like okay, but I was going by just like, oh yeah, like just you learn a little bit, like I just kind of go like resting on my laurels, if I don't know if, like you know what I mean, just kind of like I get it.
Hear exactly what you're saying.
Oh yeah. And I remember distinctly thinking, I think before school started, I remember I was in Alberta, like just hanging out, seeing my family. And I think we got like a sample test or something. Like I remember getting something.
The diagnostic exam before the school year started,
or something like that, right? I think there was a diagnostic test once you got to campus.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, the English test, the literature.
There was a literature, but there's also
a map for these buildings.
Math. There was a math one.
There was a math one as well.
That was a math one, yeah.
And I remember we got something before as well, because I remember sitting in my dad's kitchen going through this, and I remember like jokingly telling my sister, I'm like, I'm fucked. Like first of all, I don't know any of this, like, which is like, it's all Greek to me, first of all.
Right.
And I remember thinking like, I just didn't have the necessary skill set to like, I don't have a good framework built and developed to like learn how to learn that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I struggled really, really hard. And actually one of my first experiences with meeting Tim. So Tim was, first of all, I was late to the first ever class that we had because I had terrible sleep habits and I'm just wasn't good. And Tim was the first person I sat beside because I came in late. It was like DWE, like 24, 22, whatever the fucking number is. And I remember like kind of coming into the sideways. And as soon as you open the door, there was like an empty seat there. And I sat there and I was next to Tim. So that's how I met Tim. And I remember we I think we did the, like, we studied together in preparing for the first test or something like that.
Yeah.
And I just remember just feeling so overwhelmed and out of like, I am totally fucked. But Tim, you showed me how to exercise and stuff, so that was really cool. Like I failed everything else, but hey, I went to the gym, which was kind of cool.
I failed that English test. But
Right.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
I vaguely
assessment.
remember this, and you have to do it again,
did.
right?
I
Yeah.
had to do it again. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh wow.
but thankfully I passed the second time. Oh God! Like if you don't pass it, I think they put you in like a ESL class that you have to take on top of
your regular course.
course. Yeah, I was
geez.
like,
Okay.
oh.
Were you
God.
there the one time when the fire alarm went off during the test? Was that you?
Maybe.
Was that
Did that
Rashid?
actually
happened?
happen? I feel like that's
Yeah,
like
that- I
one of those
remember
like
Rashid was telling me. It might have been Rashid then. He was telling me that like during the test, the fire alarm went off, and so like went outside and like was like had to like he had a conversation with someone very briefly, and it like had a huge impact on how he finished.
Oh.
'Cause, like, I don't know if that's true. But,
Sounds like such a like stereotypical Rashid story though.
right. Anyway, I just remember that happening to someone. I can't remember who it was.
I
guess-
think one of the key things was like actually the way we studied. Like I think for the first couple of weeks we were all trying to find our way in terms of like, okay, like I got to get through this assignment or whatever. But then it slowly became like these group sessions.
Yeah.
Right. I remember like, you know, one person would understand it and maybe get the whiteboard or like whatever, like drawing it out. And then like the next question would go like, I don't know how to do this one. The next person would roll up and like, okay, no, I read this part. I know how to do this.
Yeah,
okay.
those worked out really well actually.
You know the
Like,
thing
what
is,
did you?
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
ahead,
go.
No, you go. Okay. What did you guys think of the teaching style of some of the professors? Like, I feel like at certain point, it was just like us teaching ourselves these subjects, and all they would do is write so much just notes on the board, and we were so busy trying to copy it. Maybe
Yeah.
like nowadays they wouldn't do that, right? Like what an
I don't
ancient
know if
way
they've
of
changed it.
teaching.
Yeah.
No,
It
you still
depends on the
got.
subject matter. I don't know what depends, but like
Oh,
I think it depends on the
interesting.
teacher, like the actual lecture person is as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I
Do you have an example of a good versus a bad experience for you, Tim? Like good prof versus
For
bad
me,
prof? Yeah.
Yeah, I think oh my God, what was that subject? It was one of the material science, a deformable solid, something like that.
Is this
it was,
thermodynamics with
in
the
1B or-
Korean
Yeah.
dude?
Yes.
one-
Yeah,
Yes.
thermodynamics. Yeah.
Speaking of which, he
Because
got
it
like
was, like, more
reprimanded for
like-
something. Sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
was he?
plagiarism.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, was
oh.
that guy? Oh, that's
Maybe I
right.
shouldn't speak of him anymore.
No, it's
So-
fine. I mean, his
Yeah.
teaching
Okay.
style is different
Sorry.
from
Yeah,
what.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Tim.
It was
go
just like
ahead.
because like it was like he would be solving the like actual problem with us because it was more physics versus something else. What were some of the other subjects like linear programming maybe like that like the professor or accounting. Accounting was a terrible example where
The first
the
one,
la-
the first year? Or
yeah
the
first
second
one
year?
yeah
Yeah,
the first
yeah.
year I think the
They just gave
lady
us a
would
book.
yeah and she would just write whatever
You're
was
talking about
on
the
the
chartered
book.
accountant. Wasn't that in second year?
That's second year,
It was
second
a
year.
chartered
Was that the
accountant.
second
She
year?
was the
Yeah.
prof. She
An
was
MC.
okay.
not a prof. She was just a chartered accountant.
I've
That's my
see.
understanding. Maybe I'm wrong, but
when I don't I'm surprised you guys haven't brought this up. When I think of like teaching styles that just didn't work with the way that I learned was programming. The dude that wore Crocs, he would just write code. Like he didn't
on the board.
that's it. Like
The fact that our exam was write a function using like a pencil
Yeah.
who does that?
on this, and I was like, and we got taught Visual Basic. Ooh, right? I think at the time nothing was like there should have been so many alarm bells going off.
yeah, I had no idea.
And it turns out he was a TA for all the other software engineering courses, and he was somehow our professor.
How does that work?
Oh.
That was rough.
Yeah, that was rough.
He did not prepare me at all for sure.
No, honestly,
when
I
got into
passed that
Schmucker's
course.
algorithms class, I passed by the skin of my teeth. Like that was rough. I don't remember.
I still don't know
any of
how
that.
I solved that. How we did the Kevin Bacon thing, by the way. Like I know Tim and I were working together. I know we sat at the computer and we would do something. We hit compile. We're like, nope. Do something. Hit compile.
Yeah.
Nope.
Dude, I didn't do that. I didn't do that assignment. That was like 20% of our mark, and I was just like, I actually can't do this, and I just didn't.
Oh, you
Like,
just
I
who was
literally
your
just got
partner
it.
on
I
it?
took a 0 on it. I don't know. I thought it was a solo thing. I don't know.
No, it was
If I had a
group.
partner, it was probably Rashid. So, like, I think at one point he probably phoned it in. I was like, well, I'm not doing this. So
And you still passed.
I still passed somehow, but that was I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't get into it. I remember it was like a 3-parter. Like there was like 3 heavy programming assessments that like led up. That was like the third one. It was like the big enchilada. And the first one I was like, okay, I get it. This is a lot of work, but I get it. Second one was like, oh, I don't know how I did that, but I did it. And the third one I just like I barely grasped the previous concepts. Like it was just so much that, and besides the fact that I was very focused on the theory as opposed to the actual practical application. And I think the reason I'm talking, like, because that the one you were talking about, Anya, who's like a TA, and then like where the Crocs, like he did a terrible job of prepping us to be able to do basic programming things.
We really got screwed.
Like I just didn't know anything. Like I was starting from 0, and then I just remember in my head like thinking like I feel like I should know how to do this stuff on a computer, but like I can do is write pseudocode. Like this is terrible.
I remember I went to him once because we all got Visual, what's it called?
Studio.
I should know this product. Visual Studio.
Visual Studio.
Jesus Christ, it's a Microsoft product.
This is recorded, FYI.
Yeah.
So I had Visual Studio because we got it, like the school gave us free licenses. And I went up to him and be like, hey, like, you know, the thing you told us on the board today, like I'm putting it in and it's not compiling. And he looked at it and he was like, I don't know what this is. Like, can you pull it up in Notepad? And I was like, what is happening?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. No.
I passed that exam solely by because we got a cheat sheet for that exam. Why you need a cheat sheet for a programming course, I don't understand. I wrote down every example he had done from class onto my cheat sheet. And that's exactly what he asked us on the exam. Was like, he had like 6 examples from class that he basically had us just go rewrite again. And so I think I got like a 90 on that exam.
Oh, that's amazing.
Because all I did was copy stuff off of my cheat sheet.
I mean, that's what it's there for. So
0 application.
That's how you land that job at Microsoft.
And I felt really bad. I felt really bad because I remember like it was like 10 minutes before the exam. We're all standing around PAC, and like Tim was like, "Oh, like can I see your cheat sheet?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I show it to him, and Tim's like, "Oh man, can I copy some of these?" And I was like, "Sure, but I don't think there's a lot of time." And Tim's like, "Yeah, you're probably right." Handed it back, and then we came back out, and Tim was like, "That was a disaster." I was like, "Oh man," but all the answers were on my cheat sheet.
Oh my God. That must
I
have
felt
sucked.
so bad. Yeah, that's why I felt so bad. I was like, "Oh God, if I just let him use the 10 minutes to copy."
Oh man. Question. So sorry, shifting gears a bit. So like Keenan, you talked about how like it was like a big cultural, like one of the things that like was like a big thing for you coming from North Beta Waterloo was like you got exposed to like different foods and different cultures, and you learned about different, like, you know, you grew a lot just from like, you know, being exposed to many different things. I guess the question I'll ask Ani is like, you know, outside of the schoolwork, outside of the academic turmoil, like if you were to look back on like your own personal journey, like your own personal like growth of who you were as a person at the start of your career, so the start of your undergrad, and you coming out of it, like would you say that you grew a lot as a person? Like you really came into yourself?
I saw this question when you kind of set this as prep, and this is one where I was like, I don't know. I like, it's hard for me personally to identify like significant jumps or anything like that. Because I mean, obviously you're also living with yourself every single day. So some of those micro changes leading to a macro change, I don't think I noticed. Definitely like, I think just like willing to, you know, trust people and like kind of living with a bunch of people and stuff like that. Like, you know, obviously I'd only lived at home at that point. I think I definitely came out as someone who's a little bit more like capable of dealing with failure, dealing with like difficult situations. I had confidence coming out of those, like, because I think like through high school you don't really have a lot of, you know, other than Tim, you know, obviously he moved out to Oakville by himself, and he was already kind of battle tested to a certain extent, but I don't think I had any of those things. And failing a course, you know, having to go through like, you know, all of these like work terms and the stress of exams, and then living in 5 different places over the time. I think it just kind of all teaches you who you are, and you're more confident in who you are, and you're confident that you can deal with difficult situations.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you felt like the challenges that like both the school and life kind of, you know, threw at you, it just kind of, like you said, battle tested you, and you became a lot more ready for life, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
How about you, Tim? Like, you, again, very unique in the situation that like you moved countries. Like Ani was saying, he was living at home before school. Keenan, you're probably living at home, but in North Bay. I was living at home, but you moved from the other side of the world to a country, to a brand new country when you were what, like 13, 14 or something like that? And then like, so was that, like, having gone through that already, was going to university, like, was it just like not a big deal for you? Like, was it, like, did you have as big of an adjustment as maybe the rest of us did?
So I think high school was much tougher for me just because where I was. Oakville didn't have many like international students. So Waterloo was great because I actually made a lot more friends than when I was in high school. And then like bullying wasn't really there at university versus like in high school.
Did you go through some stuff in high school?
Yeah, don't we all go through some stuff?
We do. We all do.
Yeah. So like, but then I didn't have to work as much in high school. So university was like, oh my god, this is never ending. This is nuts. So you know, like, I guess there's always pros and cons of everything. Yeah. So
how about you, Keenan? Like, in addition to like liking kimchi now, but
Yeah, it's right up there with earning that diploma.
Yeah.
No, I think, well, like, just getting into the groove of it, like Tim was talking about earlier, like 1A, 1B was just like a marathon. By the end of 1B, you're like, oh my god, I do this for 5 years, this is insane. But then you go to work for 4 months, make money, get experience, learn new things. Like, it's a whole change. You move, and then 4 months later you move back, and then 4 months later, like, getting into that rhythm took some getting used to. But once you do, like, I just always remember feeling so stressed out in the first like 3 to 4 weeks of your school term, because it's like new classes, got to figure out which ones do I have to go to, which ones can I bail on lecture times, which ones are gonna have the group projects, how are we gonna iron that out?
Right.
I need a job in 4 months, so I got to start looking at that, and I'm gonna have to grind through 20 interviews in the next 2 weeks. And like, figuring that out every 4 months, like, kind of prepares you for the real world in a way that I don't think a lot of university programs do. Because like, once you get out there, it's like, okay, now I gotta find a job, now I gotta find a place to live, now I gotta like learn things and do things and like be self-sustaining and get into a like go. Whereas like, honestly, getting out of the management engineering program and going into like the workforce was a bit of a breath of fresh air, in a sense of like, when you talk about the amount of work, like, it's not like it was no work, but in comparison, I feel a lot more able to like find that work-life balance and like structure your life around it, as opposed to being like just drinking from a fire hose for 5 years straight. It's just like,
it was weird. It was weird to see tables and be like, I don't have to nap on that.
yeah.
Number of times we took like 20-minute naps in study hallways in rooms.
And like park benches, we'll just have like butter chicken and be so carb loaded. We're like, guys, just 20 minutes, okay? Just 20 minutes.
Man.
And then 20 minutes become like, guys, how about 40 minutes? I'm like, okay, just 40 minutes.
I forget, you know what? You meant like, you mentioned the whole interview thing. I forgot about that. And you're right. Like, literally, as soon as you settle in, you got to start thinking about interviews.
Yeah.
It is such a, like, taking a step back, it is such a grind. Like, oh my God. Like, maybe it's because I've like, my subconscious has actually like purposely tried to like ignore and forget everything. But you're right. Like, as soon as, like, you got to like, first, like, going into first year, fine, like, whatever, right? Like, you're kind of all prepared. Then first 1A slaps you in the face and the 1B slaps you in the face. and then you go through your co-op term, and then as soon as you're back, you until you're done school, you go through this. You're always like thinking about the next thing that you got to take care of, whether it's looking for a place to live, whether it's finding a sublet for the 1 year lease that you fucking had to sign,
Right.
whether it's interviews.
Mistakes were made.
Pardon me?
So mistakes were made.
Yeah, I am so lucky. I subletted every term.
Oh, really?
Man.
Yeah, I don't think
And that's the
we
thing,
did
meaning there are people who had to eat that extra $500 cost or whatever it is for 4 months. Like that's
yeah,
insane. And then you gotta like you gotta figure out work because they're all like learning work. And then as soon as you feel like you're kind of in the groove of the co-op, you gotta fucking move everything back to your new place and then get settled into like figuring out what classes are. And then once you figure that out, you gotta think of midterms that are coming up right away. Then you gotta think of the interviews. It's an absolute grind. And I remember you were saying this, I've always loved school, not because of the academics, because I obviously didn't do well, but like I love the social aspect of it. Like I'm okay to like grind through and I'm okay to suffer through the assignments because I get to do it with my friends. And like I remember after every co-op work time, I'd be excited to go back to class because like you get to hang out, you get to socialize. But I remember during 3B, I think it was, because 3B was a particular, I remember distinctly like sitting there sleep deprived going like I am over this, like I am so over this, and I need, and like I don't want homework, I don't want to I don't want to like I don't want to grind through and pull another fucking all-nighter of all this stuff. But it gave us, I don't know, gave us the lives that we have. I don't know, like I don't really know how to like
I think like you said, right? I think you proved to yourself you're capable of doing this. And so now even at work, when like you've got like a particularly difficult deadline, you're like, okay, like it's not insurmountable. You're like, you've got that muscle memory still back in you.
You know how to, I think I know how to throw hours at something. Like I know how to, like if I need to do something, I can properly budget, at least in my head, like maybe not always accurately, but at the very least, like in the ballpark of like, okay, this is gonna take me an extra 2 hours. I'm gonna do that this day, this week, and that's gonna affect me in this way. Whereas like, because like in university, you're doing that every day. Like you walk out of a lecture and you're like, oh shoot, like that's a lot that I just wrote down but didn't learn. So now I got to learn it so that I can do that assignment that's due next Thursday. I got to do that between the other assignment, and then there's the midterm the following Tuesday. So okay, I should probably eat something. And then like you know what I mean, like it's nonstop. And then you get, next thing you know, it's 2 a.m. So like going from that to like it like you said, it's easier to plan when I've had to plan for things nonstop.
Here's a question for you. So assuming a couple of years down the road, assuming that we all want kids, or assuming that we all have kids, and your kid is like, hey, I think I want to go into engineering, or I think, I'm thinking of mine post-secondary. Tim, like if you were to have a little Tim Jr. or Tim at Junior, like if assuming assuming they want to go into engineering, right? And Waterloo being the school is like, would you recommend it? Like, would you?
Oh, totally. Oh yeah, because first of all, the co-op helps a lot with student debt. I gotta say, and like out of the get-go, like you'll be prepared to get a full-time job, which is like huge
because you get 2 years of experience. Like
exactly.
Those 4 months, like it accumulates to 2 years.
And like you're so prepared to do interviews because, like Keenan said, we'd be doing like 20 interviews to just like get a one offer. What a grind! So
like 30 minutes of sleep.
Refreshing. Am I number one? What's the hack again?
Oh my god!
What does it add up to? Is it 51?
Oh, I remember that. So.
And I guess it'd be the same with you guys, Keenan and Ani. Like if someone were to be like, hey, look, I'm thinking of doing engineering, like I guess what like you would
co-op. Like it's like UW great co-op program, but like if you're thinking about or waffling between ideas, if something has a co-op over doesn't, like go for the co-op because it has such an impact. And like Tim said, getting paid every 4 months for working, it doesn't hurt either. Like
for sure,
it's one thing to work at a firm where you're like, okay, we're gonna have to put in a few extra hours today, like I'm getting paid for that, versus university, like you just kind of gotta drudge through it. And then like imagine we did 1A 1B and then we just had the summer to do what we wanted because we just have to come back in a few months. Like I don't know if I would have looked for a like discipline specific job to do for 4 months, like, or had
Probably
the
want to go back to the
impetus to
theater.
like put that much time and energy, right? Like I
Yeah.
like literally I probably would have, because I did over the winter, like when I was between 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
I went back and worked at the movie theater for a couple of weeks. It was money, right?
Yeah.
And like when it's sitting there waiting, but I think that's something you miss in like a normal. Because like I remember at first when I was thinking, I was like, oh, I don't get summers off. Like this is gonna be weird. But like you don't miss it. And
Yeah.
let's be real, like the real world doesn't work like that.
No.
The sooner you rip that band-aid off, the better.
Yeah. How about you, Ani?
Definitely, and I would, I agree with Keenan. Co-op for sure is important. I would actually push one step further and be like, engineering co-op is probably the best at Waterloo. And the reason for that is like, I think we already talked about this at the engineering program, where we're like in a cohort, you have like, you're not like, because like there is accounting co-op and there is like math co-op, but like you said, like you were saying earlier about that girl, was like 1,000 people in that program, and you could be in different classes from like hour to hour.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, it was like the same people moved from class to class. You like you don't have to spend any brain energy being like, okay, who am I going to work with on this project? It's like, okay, every class, it's going to be the 4 of us, so that one of us can work on each of the projects.
Yeah. And I guess we got a few minutes. So here's the last, I guess, question. So if you guys were to go back and change like a thing or two, in any aspect, Tim, how about you, man? Like if you were to go back, talk to your day one Tim self, and if you have to offer him advice, or like, hey, look, you're gonna do things this way, maybe you should do it this way. What would be what would some of that advice be?
I'd be like, copy Ani's cheat sheet. It's like, trust me, copy it.
That's good. That's good advice. Ani, didn't someone, was it Josh that blamed you for getting him into Naruto or something like that?
He blames me for missing for 1B, because I was watching Avatar while studying, and I had my headphones in, so I didn't think I was bothering him, but he was sitting directly behind me, like in this classroom that we were studying in, and so I'm taking notes, but he's watching Avatar without audio. And so he didn't get any studying done, apparently.
Oh, that's so funny.
I just look at like you're trying to
I remember at one point he was like, turn that shit off.
That's good advice, Tim. That's probably advice that we could all probably follow. How about you, Keenan? If you were to go back to baby-faced Keenan, because you were younger than all of us, I think. And also you
17 when I got in. Yeah.
Fucking wild.
Well, Ani was 17 too, I think, right?
Yeah. We turned 18.
We're only 2 weeks apart.
Oh, right. Fuck.
Or a week and a half or something. Anyway, honestly, probably like it was kind of cheesy before, but like I kind of regret not putting more time and energy into the whole gym thing. Like I got into it 1A because in Rev, like there was a gym there, and I got into a good routine where like there's 3 of us across 2 rooms that at least one of us would guaranteed wake up. So like we were in like a every day going in the morning before going to class, and like I liked that routine. And then I went home for the holidays, and I just never got back into it. And I remember like trying to go to the gym a couple of times with Tim, and like it was the times where we'd go and there's like 6 of us, and I could see Tim's eyes like, oh, why are these guys here hogging all my machines? I'd be done by now.
What?
But no, you were a good sport. I really appreciated those times going with you, and I was like, oh man, I feel like I should just like I've never, and I still, unfortunately, I don't have that like confidence to go into a gym and know what I'm doing. That's why I kind of got into rock climbing, because it's easier to like just climb that, like go there. You have to get there somehow, and it's so easy to like convince yourself to do that. But like lifting and stuff like that is something where like I would have loved to built a better, stronger habit around that. So yeah,
you could get into that now.
I know I can. Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, these days I'm not as inclined, to be totally honest, but
Sure.
I'm more of the go snowshoeing for 8 kilometers and random
too.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like I think other than that's probably one of the bigger ones.
That is fascinating. That's not something like, if I were to, like, that's not like going to the gym more is not something I was expecting to hear. You know what I mean? Like so, but that's actually really cool. That's really cool. How about you, Mr. Cavale?
It's a toss-up between 2 things for me. I think first one is like I wish I'd paid more attention and like tried to like absorb as much as I could of learning Tim's discipline. I still feel like I still don't have like I'm a fully functioning adult, and I still don't think I have the discipline this
No
dude
one
has.
does. No one
No.
does.
Right, and he had it day one getting into university.
You guys have told me stories where like you guys would study and then like it was like a collective thing, right? You guys all studied together, you guys all go take your breaks together. But Tim would be like, I'm done, only to go home and continue studying to get
He did that a lot in second year. I think in second year he did that a lot. In third year we started living with him, so he couldn't do it.
That's a weird, like, that Korean competitive shit that I do not like. That was weird, but yeah.
So sorry.
No,
so
I
there's a
think the
toss-up
discipline
between-
though.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. It was the discipline of like him waking up, going for a workout, coming back, having like, you know, his meals. Other than the times we ate like shit, he was like, he knew what he was cooking. He knew what he wanted to eat.
One pot something.
Yeah.
No dishes, guys. It's so efficient.
I still do that.
So you can't just add that. You just boil noodles and that. You just add it. Yeah. Just put it all in. Put it just like, dude. Okay.
Yeah. But despite all of that discipline, he was still super flexible.
Yeah.
You could be like, Tim, you down for this? He'd be like, and he would either be say like, if he didn't want to do it, he was very firm of no, I don't want to do it. But like if he'd be like, if it fucked with his like workout schedule, like, all right, fine, I'll just wake up an hour earlier and go work out. And I was like, how are you doing this? Like he would come and be like, Ani, work out. And I was like, the other toss up is maybe I could have done like in the reality of things that I don't think we had time for it, but I wish I had done some extracurriculars.
Oh, okay,
right.
okay.
Joined a club or something, but honestly, I don't like look back being like, if I had done that, like my life would have changed so much. So
Yeah.
This is me just kind of like hypothesizing that maybe, you know, it would have helped in some way or whatever, but
Yeah, I mean, you know, I see what you mean. You didn't do a lot of any of you guys, eh? You guys didn't really do.
This dude played football.
Right.
Did you guys do intramural something?
Yes.
Oh,
We did intramural
hockey,
soccer and hockey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hockey,
I did
right.
dodgeball a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
Oh, I didn't. So like, I didn't know you didn't do any extracurriculars, Johnny, or Keaton, I guess.
Well, like as in no club. Like I didn't join NSOC or like
Yeah, I didn't do it.
SASA or WATSA or any one of those things.
I see.
I know Rashid did the solar car midnight. Whatever.
That's true. He did midnight.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, cool.
That's right. Yeah. I totally forgot about that. And sorry, I was going to ask you earlier, Tim. In third year, when you made the team, what like so did like what walk me through that? Like you tried out.
Yeah.
This was the year after Waterloo got caught for all the steroids and shit.
Steroids,
right?
yeah, hilarious. That's why the best chance to make the team, and I made it, which was great. But then I quit quickly after because I was like, I can't do this. This is like really demanding because you gotta freaking travel every Saturday, and then you gotta go lift in the morning, and then you gotta go watch film and practice in the evening. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. So I do regret not going through with it.
You might have not passed your academics. I mean, by the sounds of it. So,
or I don't know, but I guess it's like regret of not doing. But I don't know. At the time, I feel like I couldn't have done it. So
if you had done it though, like, you know, Ternisa and me and Keenan would have just been sitting in the desk behind you watching your film too.
It's a butterfly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing that there's many things that I wish I could go back and do. First of all, it'd be to just have better sleep habits. I remember in first year, I did not have it got to the point where, especially in 1A, I thought my roommate was sabotaging my alarm. Because I got to the point where I was like waking up at like 10:30 and missing classes and we had the all day classes. And I remember going like, dude, like, are you turning off my alarm? Because like I just couldn't remember. He's like, nah, man, like you are waking up and you are turning it off. So it got to the point where I was so sleep deprived that I was waking up, turning my alarm off, which I would put on the other side of the room because like I needed to get up and turn it off, but I wasn't remembering it, right?
Wow.
So it just like, and I think like just eating better and just taking care of my body, I think would have helped. Just with everything else. And the other thing I remember it distinctly, I think in 4A, 4B, I started paying attention in those classes. And I remember going, oh, studying is really like, it's much easier when you listen to what the professor is actually fucking saying.
Yeah.
And you like try to retain it because it just comes up. It's like, it's not like, exams and the assignments aren't as hard. Like they're
Yeah, 'cause
hard when
you have a lot to fall back on. Like
exactly, yeah. When you're thrown an assignment that you're reading it and like it's all like you look like in it and you're reading it for the first time, of course it's hard. But if you're actually fucking paying attention to what the professor's doing, it's like, oh yeah, they talked about this, and you can kind of refer back to it. So I think I really do wish, if I go back, is to like just take care of my body and like just establish like a good like foundational base. And the other thing I wish I did was like I ate so much Chinese food. And the thing is, I think I told you guys this. I visited campus for like an on-campus thing, I think like 2 years ago, and I ordered Mr. Punani's, like the sea, like whatever, like the
Panini.
paninis, whatever it was, and I got like one. And I ordered one of the things that I used to typically get, which was like a C3 or C4, where the fuck it was. Right?
Yeah.
And I just remember being so shocked at how heavy it was, because it's like 3 pounds of rice and then like another fucking 5 pounds of deep fried chicken. And when you're a broke ass university student, you're like, oh my god, such great value.
Best deal of all time.
Oh yeah.
But you can't function as a human being after you eat something like that.
No.
There's a reason we took so many naps.
Yeah.
We're having so many farts, like Tim was saying at the beginning of this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just me. That was just me. My farts were
Tim and
the worst.
his protein shakes were really
Yeah,
messing
it
with
was-
his.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
It was the extra in his diet.
Fuck. But all right, man.
Man.
Was there anything else that you guys wanted to like share about your experiences? And we could do this another time, like down the road with like the rest of the guys and stuff like that. But any other closing thoughts, Timmy, Ani, Keenan?
Who was your first friend? Like, forget classes. Like, first friend, like the like when you got to Waterloo, who was the first person you kind of became friends with?
You know what's
Sean
funny?
Griffin.
Oh man,
Remember that
Yeah,
guy?
really?
is that guy now?
Who's Sean Griffin?
I haven't seen him in ages. I kind of want to catch up with him if I could. He was my neighbor
In Rev.
university. Yeah, in Rev.
He studied with us a couple of times. Like he was a math wizard.
He was a genius. It probably still is. And then he switched to English Lit in second year.
Yeah.
Very interesting character. One of the most interesting people I've ever met. He was
he
so
the guy?
weird.
Sorry, was he the guy? Very nice guy, right? Like very like
Yeah.
a nice person. And I think he told me that one of the midterms, he like didn't write it. Like he sat down and like he went to hand it in, and one of the proctors were like, "Oh my god, you must be a genius because you finished before everyone." He's like, "Nah, I just didn't write the answers."
That was calculus, and that was the final. Yeah, he did that.
Oof.
That was right before he quit to English Lit.
I
He'd already
see.
decided he was just going through the motions.
Oh,
They force you to sit there for however long. Like you can't leave for the first bit of the
Right,
exam. So he like
right.
showed up, wrote his name down, breezed through it, like looked at it, answered whatever he could, and then just left. Like
The only story I remember for him is Tim Ma broke a glass bottle on his head.
Oh yeah, that was nuts.
Oh shoot, probably shouldn't be saying names, but
Why?
He had like a mild
Why did that
depression
happen?
after that. They were just got in an argument after we were at the calf, and like those Nestea bottles with like the thick
Yeah.
glass,
Ooh.
smashed it over his head. That was crazy.
Well, they're arguing on how to do like a differential equation.
I
Like
can't
what?
remember what they were-
I don't
they
think it
were-
was school related at all.
No,
course.
they were old high school buddies. So anyway,
Oh, I see. I
Ah.
see. I see.
All right, so
How about you,
Keenan
Timmy?
is Sean. Yeah,
Yeah,
who was it for you,
sorry.
Tim?
Me? I can't. Oh, it's Hope, right? Hope or Josh? Was it Hope first or Josh first? I think it was Hope first.
Yeah, for me it was you,
Yeah.
Timmy. Timmy, you
Yeah,
were first.
yes.
You were my first Tim.
Yeah, you were my first Hope.
And then I think Tim, you introduced me to Josh, and the only image, like the first image of Josh that I have, and I want to share this before we close out, of my first memories of each of you. The first memory I have of Josh is, you know, the old like the lab where we did our lab or whatever.
We've left.
or what the
We've
fuck it's
left.
called.
We've
Yeah,
left.
it's just-
right?
God.
Yeah.
It's just him brooding. just sitting there with his shaved head and his big winter parka, and it's just him brooding. And I just thought he was the most intimidating guy. But then Tim was like, "Oh, he's like a nice guy. He's like a nice guy." I'm like, "You sure? He looks like he wants to rip my head off." So
He's like the Hulk.
Yeah.
The secret, he's always angry.
yeah. How about you, Ani?
I think it was Rashid during Frosh Week.
Okay.
I remember like because we were doing all the frosh activities, and then they broke us apart to bring us all into like an orientation for management. And we like I remember sitting in the front row with Rashid and Tim was on the other side of me.
I see.
Like, we all introduced ourselves and stuff like that.
Oh,
And then promptly, let Rashid down on the first day of school when he asked me to save him a seat.
Yeah, you're never gonna live that down.
You actually saved a seat, and you're just like, nah, I'm gonna let.
Dude, I saved a seat for as long as was comfortable. All right, this dude showed up like 10 minutes later, and like I'm not gonna keep telling people like, nah, you can't sit here, nah, you can't sit here. Right? I did it for the first little while. Then once the class starts, I'm not gonna be like, no, like.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a similar story with him where I think it was like the first or second week of university, and like where like Rev was over here and then V1 was here, and this was after like we already knew each other for a bit, and like I was already running late, but I had a bike, so like I'm kind of biking, and then like I see him walking on the path as I'm going, and he's like, "Oh, hey man, you going to class? Let's go together." And I stop by to talk to him for 2 seconds. I'm like, class is in like 5 minutes, dude. I'm just like, sorry. And then I just left. I just biked there, got there on time, and he didn't. Because I was like, I have a bike. Like, sorry. Felt a little bad about that. But
Did you still bring it up?
no, he probably doesn't remember.
Okay, that's good.
Just
That's
me.
good. Quickly, my first memory. Sorry, yeah. My first memory of Tim was that, like, sitting next to him and going to DP to prepare for that one test, and just Tim and being really jacked. Ani, my first memory of you was, I think, literal, and I've shared this before, was one of our very first classes with, I think, Doomer and one of like the man-eng faculty. And he asked the class, like, hey, why did you pick management engineering? Because it was like, we're in the very first year. And I put my hand up, and my answer was, because like, I thought I was being a clever little fucking smartass. And the question was, why did you pick management? And I put my hand up. I'm like, I didn't. I only got into this. Like, my first pick was mechanical or some shit like that. Like, this is like my fallback or something like that. And I remember, and Ani was sitting like 3 seats in front of me, and I've never seen a person snap his head back and like glare at me so hard in my entire
Allegedly,
life.
I have no memory of this.
You guys ever see that meme of what's that movie about, like, TPS reports?
Office Space.
Office Space. There's a meme of the Office Space with that one guy. He's like the white guy, and he's like, like, I'll have to send it to you. But that's exactly like, you bore 2 holes through my soul looking at me like you hated me so much. And Keenan, one of the first memories I have of you was the couple. There's a couple that come to mind. And the first one is, you were trying to teach me, like, it was for like a 1A calculus midterm, and it was like a graph that's either like a binary on or off or some shit like that, and it turns on or off. And I just kept going, I don't understand. And you're like, and I could just tell you were at your wit's end. They're like, dude, if you don't get it, or something, like, it was something along the lines like, if you don't get it now, you're just not going to get it, because you try to explain it to so many times. And then the other thing I remember was, we were walking back from MC or something like that, and you were like, you complimented me on my looks or something, and you gave me a wink, and I was like so flattered. I know, and I was so flattered. I forget what
Keenan's
it was.
always been a little flirt.
Yeah. So, anyways, those are the first memories that I have.
Oh,
guys.
Yeah, I remember like Hope's penguin hat.
Oh,
He
yeah.
looked
yeah.
dashing, so nice.
Yeah.
And he had like little longer hair. And then Keenan would just not get haircut for a long time, and his Jufro starts like growing.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
I remember him telling us that old ladies would come to the movie theater and be jealous of his hair.
That's true. That's very, very true. that jarred me a little bit.
And Ani just
I
looks
should have
exactly
taken
the
that as a
same.
sign.
No,
Ani just looks
Ani
exactly
is
the
like
same.
Ani is heavier. Ani is heavier than first year Ani.
You guys,
I saw
all
a
look
picture
exactly
recently.
the
Actually,
same.
Hope has a picture of like he posted of like
Yeah.
outside the bookstore. Like there was like a Stephen Colbert cutout, and I'm posing beside it, and I'm like, oh my god, I was so skinny back then.
I'm gonna have to go through those, but
Yeah.
anyways, guys, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us along.
Yeah. We'll do this again soon, and I'm gonna stop recording now.